I grew up loving science. And I grew up loving just tinkering with things and building things. And so, um, even though I came from a family where everyone was a business person, I was going to go and be an engineer. And so my undergrad, I did my undergrad in chemical engineering, and then came to MIT to do a master's in chemical engineering practice and my PhD in biochemical engineering. We are used to, as technical people, thinking of invention, like how do we invent, new science? How do we invent new processes? And that is inherently satisfying. But for me, I think innovation goes one step beyond just invention. Because what innovation does is that it takes the underlying science and it creates from it something that has impact on the world, that adds value to the world, and really adds value to those who you are trying to connect with. And what I will tell you is my own personal belief is as important as invention is, over the next 20 years, a huge proportion of innovation is actually going to come from using invention that's been sitting on the shelf and connecting it with the changing needs of people. So what are people going to need as our society changes? What are people going to expect as technology has opened up new doors? And to be able to connect those dots in terms of what can a technology provide? What is it that people need? And of the things that people say they want, what is it that they're actually willing to pay for that will add value to their lives? And that sweet spot is really about innovation at its core. And given that MIT's mission has always been to change the world for the better, MIT for a better world is sort of the mantra. Innovation is core to that because it is by innovation, it is by adding things that add value to the world that we make the world a better place. There are two things that are parallel to each other and sometimes in tension with each other, but I think are both important. So the first is MIT is an amazing place that will give you the opportunity to explore a whole host of things. And MIT encourages you to do that. And I would too. Take the opportunity to dive into things that might be of interest to you, even if you don't think they're core to what you might want to do in the future. Because that opportunity to really be able to just get a dipping into disparate things is amazing. The second piece, which is sort of in parallel to it, is you will come into MIT, I think, like I did. And even though you probably would never admit it to yourself, you're bright. You're in the 90th percentile of bright. And you've been driven, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here. And it's mostly been in your control. You have single-handedly said, I want to get into MIT, and you have. Over the 4 years that you're at MIT, you're going to be preparing yourself to go into a world that's very different. Because you come to MIT, as I did, because you want to solve the world's most complex and challenging problems. And those problems are never solved alone. And so, in addition to focusing on the academics, I would encourage you to say, how do I understand how to really have impact? And so that's part of how do I learn to be part of a great team, both as a follower and a leader? How do I learn to problem solve in a way that it's not just what's in my brain, but what's in the collective brain? And how do I learn to communicate the technical horsepower that's in my brain for those who have different disciplines or are non-technical? And so my advice is twofold. Embrace all the opportunities for your curiosity to run rampant and learn different stuff. But at the same time, really be focused on what are the things in addition to my academics that MIT offers me the opportunity to develop that will truly allow me to have impact as I leave. MIT is, yes, one of the world's premier academic institutions. It's one of the world's most premier research institutions. But MIT is also a community, and MIT is a family. And there are lots of people here who are very invested in your success. That's one of the reasons why after, a very successful 30-year career in industry, I came back to MIT. I want to help you make the same journey that I did to a place where I can look back on a career with a lot of pride, and help you make that journey perhaps a little more quickly and a little less painfully than I did. And so I hope that I will see many of your smiling faces on campus in the fall.